Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. I'm Kofi Bartels. We begin with a look at the top stories at this hour. President Tinubu mourns victims of tanker fire incident in River State. Motorists fume as fuel scarcity worsens despite NNPC's assurances. Chilean students hope for change ahead of presidential poll. Stay with us because we have details of those headlines and other stories ahead. Welcome. Let's begin by telling you that Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of victims of the fire incident caused by an articulated vehicle conveying petroleum products at the LMS section of the East-West Road in Port Harcourt, River State. No fewer than 5 persons died in the Saturday disaster, which also destroyed dozens of vehicles, scourged goods worth billions of naira. Commiserating with the government and people of River State on this tragedy, Nigeria's president is praying for the speedy recovery of those injured in the incident. Now, Tinubu's condolence message was contained in a statement signed by his media aide, Ajuri Ngelale, on Sunday. In the meantime, the president has insisted that his administration's decision to remove petrol subsidy was very necessary to prevent the country from going bankrupt. Tinubu announced the removal of petrol subsidy the day he was inaugurated into office with popular "subsidy is gone" speech. The action, however, made prices of commodities rise through the roof, increasing hardship in the country, which has made some of his critics condemn the subsidy removal as a policy not well thought out. But speaking as one of the panelists at the ongoing World Economic Forum in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, this morning, the Nigerian president justified the removal of the subsidy on petrol, maintaining that it was needed to reset the Nigerian economy.
Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. One, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult, but the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at the time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there will be blowback. There is expectation that the difficulty in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government.
Meanwhile, residents of Lagos, Nigeria's economic capital, and Nigerians nationwide are facing growing frustration as the scarcity of petrol continues to grip the country. This is coming despite assurances from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited that logistical hurdles hindering the distribution of petrol had been resolved. Long queues and empty pumps are common sight at petrol stations around the country. Most motorists are spending hours waiting for petrol only to be turned away due to lack of the product. Now, this has caused significant disruption to daily routines, with many resorting to the black market for fuel at exorbitant prices. Many Nigerians have expressed anger and disappointment at the continued scarcity, questioning the effectiveness of the NNPCL's claimed solutions. As the situation shows no improvement, Nigerians are wondering when the fuel shortage will finally be resolved and when they can return to their normal routine. Let's talk politics now. Kano Federal High Court has stepped into the ongoing power struggle or tussle between the All Progressives Congress. Justice A.M. Liman issued a restraining order preventing a faction of the party's Ganduje Ward Executive Committee in Kano State from suspending the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. This decision comes after Ganduje's lawyer, Hadiza Nasir Ahmed, filed an ex-party application amidst rising tensions within the ruling party. The order names Bashiru Nuhu Isa and 25 others, along with law enforcement agencies like the Nigeria Police Force and the Department of State Services, as respondents in the case. Now, this court order demanding all parties maintain the current situation marks a critical point in the APC's internal conflict. It effectively halts any action stemming from the Ward Committee's alleged emergency meeting targeting Ganduje's position. The court has postponed further proceedings until May 9, 2024. And until then, the fate of Abdullahi Ganduje within the All Progressives Congress remains unclear. To discuss this, I'm joined by partner Fortes and Lutz legal practitioners Okiki Adeniro. Good evening to you. Okiki Adeniro, it's good to have you on beautiful Sunday.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Okiki Adeniro, was it appropriate for Ganduje's counsel, to file an ex parte application in this case? And are there any potential downsides to this application?
Yes, I believe that it's very appropriate, and it's a good step. It was a good step that the council filed a motion ex parte on behalf of the former governor. As a matter of fact, the council has just one job, and the job is to protect Governor Ganduje from suspension. So now, what has happened now is that the motion ex parte has been heard, and parties have been told to maintain status quo. And to speak to the fact that is there going to be like any result from these and all? Yes, I believe that. Yes, it's a first step. There's still a case before the courts, and it's a case about the fundamental human rights of the former governor, Ganduje. And I believe that as time goes on, we'll have more stories about this.
Does a federal high court have proper jurisdiction, to hear the case, concerning what is an internal party matter?
Well, an internal party matter is not the business of the courts. As a matter of fact, the courts try to dissociate itself from internal party matters such as this. However, the case that has been brought before the courts, it's a case of fundamental human rights. It is not really, it has been colored with a case of inter-party rivalry. However, what has been said is that the rights of Governor Ganduje has been trampled on, and that's what the lawyer to former Governor Ganduje is in court, to fight.
Interesting. And in your opinion, how significant is this court order in the larger context of the past struggle within the APC, or should I say, in Kano State?
Well, the court order at this time is coming at the right time. I believe it's coming at the right time to me, and I believe that I'm saying this because at least we have for some time there will be peace in that sense. There's been a lot of topsy-turvy for some time now. There's been issues around the chairman of the APC, but now that the court has said, what, all parties should maintain status quo, there won't be any issue, there won't be any meeting, there won't be any any other thing. That will be any step that will be taken against the other courts, will be a contempt of courts. So everything is now before the courts, and we hope that we hear about it in the next, in this week.
All right. What potential defense can the APC Ward executives who are affected by this present in court to justify their actions against Ganduje? We know, for instance, maybe, like you said, internal party affairs. Do we have precedent, from the Supreme Court, for instance, in some of the cases with elections or other political cases? What can the counsel to these, to this faction affected by this order, what can they present to help their cause?
Yeah, well, I believe that the defense they can put out there is to push the story, the fact that, there's been an alleged corruption against the former governor and chairman of APC. And it means that if the law says that you are alleged must prove, and it means that if that's going to happen, they're going to tell the court that yes, what they're doing is right, and that the rights of Governor Ganduje is not being trampled on. they need to prove to the court that yes, he has the corruption case against him, alleged corruption case, is actually true. And one reason why Governor Ganduje is in courts, I believe the lawyer is trying to convince the court that what, the court has not even tried Governor Ganduje about this alleged corruption. One of the things that has been mentioned is that Governor Ganduje has right of fair hearing and also has the right of association. So if anybody will succeed in this case, I mean, respondents will succeed in this case, what they need to do is to be able to prove that, yes, the corruption case against him is actually true. And based on that, that is why, they are planning to suspend, or they have moved to suspend him.
Interesting. I want to thank you so very kindly for your time this evening, Okike Adeniro, a partner, Fortis, and Lots legal practitioners.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Candidates of the People's Democratic Party have won the chairmanship position in all 33 local government areas in Saturday's council election in Oyo State. The state's Independent Electoral Commission announced the result on Sunday amidst controversy over irregularities during the voting process. The results were announced at the conference hall of the Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, Agodi, Ibadan. After presenting the results from all 33 local government areas where elections took place, the Electoral Commission's chairman, Ishaka Alagunju, affirmed the results and declared the PDP victorious. There are, however, complaints from some local government areas of discrepancies noticed during the electoral process, ranging from lateness of materials and personnel to non-availability of necessary materials in some. Now, some Nigerians have expressed displeasure over the rising cost of utility bills, which are becoming more difficult to pay. This is as the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and pay TV operators MultiChoice have announced price increases in their services, blaming the cost of business operations for the hike. News Central's Marvelous Obomanu spoke to some residents of Nigeria's capital territory and now reports.
Many Nigerians say they are grappling with providing basic essential needs for their families. While traders are complaining of poor sales due to scarce resources, salary earners have not been spared as they try to balance their income and expenditure. Payment of utility bills as it stands today in Nigeria is becoming difficult with the current increase in their prices. Talk about the hike in electricity tariff, talk about the subscription for GoTV and DSTV. Some Nigerians are saying they can no longer afford to pay these bills, which are of necessity to them because salaries are constant.
The tariff is a very serious issue because even myself, I pay, they refuse to give me meter, so I pay, estimated bill, and I pay 25,000 every month, which is so exorbitant. And when you check the high cost of living, if you put 25,000 for electricity tariff alone, then what are you going to spend? How much are you earning and how much is going out?
Since 1960 till now, Nigeria is still dragging with light. It's a very big shame to us. And they say Nigeria is the giant of Africa. And even other Africa countries, they even make use of the light, more judicially more than us.
If you are buying a card of 20,000, it will last up to a month, roughly 2 weeks or 3 weeks at max. But the thing is just, I don't know. I don't really know. They should try and work on it. I don't know. They should just try and do something about it. People are really dying.
I live in the outskirts, Buhari. They placed me on band 1. I even bought a unit, giving me 500 naira 1 unit. And after even trying to load the token refused. I was asked to come to the office and do upgrading. I want them to move me away from the band here. I don't understand. Honestly, it's terrible and it's painful.
The cost of other utility bills like DSTV and GoTV have also been increased, leaving Nigerians with no choice other than to pay the current subscription price. The big question is, how are Nigerians coping with a stable monthly income but soaring prices of utility bills?
You can imagine subscribing your DSTV for 18,000 naira, 20,000 naira to watch what? So it's too much.
Over time, I think they should have
been able to come up with something that will substitute that, if not even create a competition in the market.
Despite years of public investment, Nigeria has the lowest access to electricity globally. About 92 million persons out of over 200 million citizens lack access to power. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
News Central now continues after the short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And now to more stories. 2 months after the commissioning of the geometric power plant in Nigeria's commercial city of Aba in Abia State, residents and business owners differ on the performance assessment of the company. The energy users seem to be grappling with unarguably epileptic power supply, even with an assumed better offer by the independent power plant in the city of Aba. For more, here's News Central's Chinyo Ogele, who was in Aba to see what has changed since February 27 in power distribution in the Enyimba city.
Electricity supply is a case of different strokes for different folks in Aba.
Honestly, kudos to them. Honestly, like since last week, we've never had any power cut off. Honestly, there has been steady lights.
Okay, in this place now, this is School Road by Mosque. It's only when they want to distribute their bill or cut the lights. That is when we always see lights once. And if that light come 1-2 days, the light will just go.
The official commissioning of the independent power plant in Aba was greeted with so much jubilation from residents of the city and people outside the state. The expectation of the people of Aba and environs was such that made them believe that their decades of power issues were over with Geometric's power plant finally launched. However, 2 months down the line, the independent power plant project seems to be succeeding partially.
We used to have at least 12 to 18 hours for now. But I know very soon, 24-hour supply of electricity will commence.
Yes, this geometric is going a long way to, putting a little smile on the face of people for the past 1 month now.
Another issue surrounding the power project is the inability to meter all the houses within the control of Geometrics yet.
A prepared meter have been given to some areas, and there are some areas that doesn't even see light since October till now. They will always see lights once.
Sadly so, a lot of people who need electricity for their daily businesses, those who are in the manufacturing sector or production of one thing or the other in this city of Aba, complain of non-availability of power.
So over 3 years now, I only use NEPA lights. I ain't wear NEPA lights. So I think I use so.
Oko 4:30 itiri agbala ebe na adịla dark ọ na-emezi anyị na-ala n'oge mgbe ahụ mgbe o kwesịrị ọ na-edilezi anyị rụpụta ọrụ oge anyị na-ekwesịghị ịrụpụta ya ọ na-enyere anyị aka ịrụpụta ọrụ ngwa ngwa ote demand ndị ahịa si chọọ.
The complaints notwithstanding, some parts of Aba favored by the power distribution now enjoy nightlife that even businesses thrive at night.
That is how the improvement in Aba now. Many cities, many places have been having a very steady light now. So I can't lie, there is light in Aba now.
For 8 good hours.
Mr. Don Adenoba, the media consultant for Geometric's power plant, when contacted on phone, said he was out of town but assured that the process was succeeding. In Aba for News Central, Chinyo Ogele.
Reactions have trailed the order by the Kogi State High Court sitting in Lokoja to the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoide, to appear in court on May 13, 2024 to show cause why an order of committal should not be made against him for allegedly disobeying a court order. The FCC boss may be facing a contempt charge for carrying out some acts upon which they have been restrained by the court on February 9, 2024, pending the determination of the substantive origination motion. Justice I.A. Jamil, delivering a ruling, held that the said act was carried out by the respondent, in this case the EFCC, in violation of the court order, which was valid and subsisting when they carried out the act. The judge said the act of the respondent, the EFCC, amounts to contempt. Earlier, National Coordinator Activist for Good Governance, Declan Ihekari, was on the news to discuss this.
The anti-graft agency is not really doing what Nigerians expect them to do. Moreover, he that must come for equity must come with clean hands. The anti-graft agency ought to be an agency of the government that must always stand above the board. It's an agency of the government that should checkmate any act of wrongdoing that amounts to corruption. And so, when a court of competent jurisdiction has given an order, it is total corruption to disobey such an order. And in this stance, an order was given in favor of former governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, restraining the anti-graft agency from arresting him, pending when every issue surrounding the order that was sought is cleared. But as usual, the anti-graft agency, led by a lawyer who knows, because if he does not know, he won't be placed in that position that he is today. He knows, decided to disobey a court order that was issued. The demolition of buildings in the right-of-way of the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road has been flagged off by Nigeria's Minister of Works, David Umahi. The demolition exercise began at the Manichula Beach, Oniru waterfront, on Saturday. The minister says the compensation for owners of the affected structures has been adequately factored in to the project and urged those affected to see the greater good of the project. The demolition process is expected to continue for some days. Earlier on the news, public affairs commentator Benga Ayonuga shared his thoughts on this development.
I've lived a little in this country to be faced with a lot of disappointment by the government. And with those disappointments from the past, I find it really hard to trust anything the government says. Because for me, while I understand the importance of such a project like this in opening up the country more to ease of transportation and movement of goods and services across the nation, but until we have a way where citizens can prosecute those leading the government, where those people leading the government can actually go to jail after their tenure, if after demolishing people's means of livelihood, they do not complete such that led to such demolition, such that people can now begin to get the benefit back from such demolition. I do not really, you see, I am a pro-government person, but still, I understand that in Nigeria, the government lies too much.
What a man can do, a woman can do better, so the saying goes. This is an old saying that enjoys popularity within segments of society. But what is generally accepted is that women have continued to shatter the ceiling of cultural inhibition. This is the story of the first female tricycle rider in the city of Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State in northeast Nigeria. More is our correspondent, Umaru Kirawa.
A bustling street in Maiduguri, the capital city of Borno State in Nigeria. People are going about their daily activities and the atmosphere is lively. A glimpse of a young woman riding tricycle, maneuvering through the streets with a crowd of curious onlookers left in amazement. My colleague and I took interest and had to follow her.
In fact, she made me impressed. Allah, Kai, she made me impressed. I was so excited. When I saw her standing bulunkutu, people were just watching her. And I said, my friend, let's encourage this lady. In fact, she impressed me a lot. It is very, very encouraging. I don't know much. I'm so excited, wallahi.
Ta nuna mana mu nemi abin kanmu yana da kyau ba sai mun tsaya muna tinkaho da wayansu ba. So saboda haka gaskiya na yi murna sosai.
It's an encouraging to many girls out there depending on boys, using themselves. They are cheating them, but here is a lady encouraging many girls out there.
This is just a tip of the iceberg of what many residents in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, are saying with regard to the strange sight of a lady driving a tricycle. Follow me as we crisscross the capital city to find out more of the people's thoughts.
Gaskiya sai dai ta hakuri ba. Za ta ga kalubale kala-kala. Za ta gani kawai abu fatan da ran mata kawai ta ci gaba da hakuri dai.
Ta wani wajen in ci gaba ne. Sannan kuma nan gaskiya ana shan wahalan nafe sosai. Don ko ma in ka je post office bakin su university su ina da duk ana shan wahalan abun hawa.
Kudulan ma iso ke amma arewa ndo kan armaci da la aula dunwa kalata na fe girjin holja ai ba wadu bana tunai.
Ya kamata ita mace din ta dinga daukan mata yan uwanta, maza kuma su dinga daukan maza yan uwansu saboda babu bane a ce kasan musulunci mace tana suna shiga mashin da maza suna cunkusu.
Kama so ko har kasadin za pleza lasa salu chida sadin na walja alo karu kujo ba.
A mother to 4 children, Rita Onsu speaks about her inspiration.
You know the way our country is now, as a woman, for you to sit down and wait for your husband's salary or wait for your husband to provide all your needs is not encouraging. And what inspired me the most, because I can see here that our women, will I say, they are scared of coming out to hustle or to do something for themselves. So I'm doing this to call our women out. You must not drive keke, you must not be a keke driver, but whatever you can do to help yourself, whatever you can do in your ability, whatever you can do, you know that your family will support you, your husband will support you, or whoever that will support you, and say, go ahead. Why not you come out and do it?
She speaks about her early experience riding the tricycle.
The first week I started this work, it was not easy for me. At times, if I come back from the work, all my body will be paining me. I will be crying. I cannot sit. All my waist will be paining me. And I asked myself, will I give up just because of this body pain? I said, no, I cannot give up now. It's too early to give up. So I continue. At least, I had up to 3 times accidents. You can see my leg here is one of the accidents I had driving this. So you see, it's not easy.
As she maneuvers through crowded streets, Rita is piercing through barriers and challenging traditional gender roles in male-dominated profession.
How I wish I can get support to encourage me, at least to tell me that what I'm doing, that people love it, to encourage me, at least to help me do more. Borno is a very nice and cool and loving place you can be. Don't be scared. Come into Borno and enjoy with us. There is nothing to be scared of. The people here are loving, so there is nothing to be scared of in Borno. You can see if I'm a woman here driving keke napepe, you can see the place is so calm and peaceful.
This may just be an indication that most of the non-gender-based hindrances are as strong as the mind allows it to. A testament to the old saying that what a man can do, a woman can at least try. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Quite an inspiring story there. Is so watching News Central now. Coming up, Chadian students hope for change ahead of the presidential polls in that country. We'll bring you details of that story and others ahead. Welcome back. The news continues in West Africa, where Togo will on Monday hold legislative elections after a highly divisive constitutional reform that opponents say paves the way for President Faure Gnassingbe to further extend his family's decades-long grip on power. At the helm of the small West African country for nearly 20 years, Faure Gnassingbe succeeded his father, Gnassingbé Eyadema, who ruled for almost 4 decades. Critics say the political dynasty's hold on the small West African nation will be extended by the reform. People in the streets of the seaside capital of Lomé were split over the election, the role of Togo's leader, and who it should be. The reform, adopted by lawmakers on April 19, makes the president's post a largely ceremonial one. The president will now be elected by parliament and not the people for a 4-year term.
Patami susube alonya gbonya na kwa ni mawe mutafum no mam babam no mowa ya kwa iro dudu nua e George nambe totro vide lava kumileka nya ojim 70 1er janvier 70 ojima famille nya singbele funu kaka ncham baba do fifi famille nya singbe gba potole ye nyi miawe kuhia
e dom le nya joro somi lo aya gbe nya be jambe nu wa mi sukuru avo mi te potole wo les mis sur le haut, abattre sur le coco. Donc, il me dit actuellement, il faut Amérique c'est à la base blemi bobé et aso et galon de souvent qu'on a joué nos bobé bon. Depuis d'accord, on a mis après tu reçois nos pour jouer va voir. Mi va qu'on a un look mi va qu'on avait ces réalisations ne peuvent pas dans le terrain jo.
Père que le Togois et gombe et du pétrole me fia à me wou le bessia go Togo le fia à me wumlo mime le pop violence nous depuis les filles. Et le président que le gouverneur et le gouverneur Joignere bon et ñam souhaité be ne la te diriger et Joignere ye jola te ñu amesa me la vole joamea ñomi ngbo ni la no be parti ya no be parti so yi.
Chadians are expressing their hopes for political change through current Prime Minister of the transition government, Success Masra. The presidential candidate on Sunday arrived at a campaign rally in the city of Mourns, where he is greeted by a huge crowd of supporters. Elections are scheduled to be held on the 6th of May 2024, with a second round, if necessary, to be held on the 22nd of June. Now, the elections will follow a constitutional referendum on December 17, 2023, following the death of President Idriss Déby in 2021.
Nous voulons d'abord une gouvernance transparente. Nous voulons que les choses soient claires au vu de tout le monde. Le bien du peuple doit rester pour le peuple. Ce n'est plus d'abord un bien individuel ni privé. Donc, on en a marre même, c'est trop. Oui, au départ j'étais dessus, mais après j'ai compris que la politique, c'est ça. Avant de prendre la tête du gouvernement, il faut absolument être dans la ministère, pour voir et comprendre tout ce qui se passe. Donc, ça, c'est pas une grande chose. C'est pas étonnant, alors tout à fait normal. Ce sont les règles, donc c'est sa logique à lui-même. Nous, maintenant, on a désigné notre président. On l'a déjà élu. Donc, on n'attend rien que le jour J. Rien que le jour J.
Il y a de cela 3 décennies. C'est les mêmes choses qui se répètent. Toujours des résultats corrompus. Et cela ne résout pas aux problèmes et aux attentes de la population tchadienne. C'est des mêmes choses. Et aujourd'hui, les gens ont peur, les gens sont opprimés en fait.
The Economist has released the 38th edition of its forward-looking production, The World Ahead 2024, in an event organized by CT Productions. The event, with several business leaders and captains of industry in attendance, allowed participants to glean on businesses or how businesses were navigating domestic and global headwinds. News Central's Perpetua Fasomipido was there and filed this report.
Indeed, optimism is in short supply this year. And as we report in our pages, that extends to the economic prospects for sub-Saharan Africa.
Represented by his special advisor on sustainable development goals, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu commended CT for choosing Lagos, describing the publication as an annual compass.
The World Ahead 2024 is an annual report that serves as a vital compass, guiding us through the complexities of the ever-shifting global landscape. To enhance our economic state, a multi-pronged approach is necessary, focusing on investment, education, and building a resilient and inclusive system.
Setting the tone for the conversations, the managing director of CT Productions, Camelia Oros, said Nigeria is gaining momentum towards long-term financial gains. She also added that Africa remains determined to pave its way towards recovery.
The continent is squarely placed as the world's second fastest growing region, trailing only behind Asia. Nigeria has forced to diversify away from its reliance on its black gold, coupled with sustained policy reforms, efficient budget implementation, and strategic resource reallocation may finally yield fruitful outcomes and pave the way for a robust recovery by 2025.
Business leaders at the event also shared their experiences, highlighting the major economic challenges they were faced with and what their outlook for the year is.
There's always disruptions here and there, and we've seen them with COVID, we've seen them with the Ukraine war, we've seen them continually throughout. So I think it's a greater imperative that you are closer to the consumer, closer to the markets that you serve, and that you have a very strong and robust supply chain to support it.
Most critical challenge for every business has been, from the impact of inflation, the change in government, and the attendant, consequences that usually will come with that, and the volatility in the currency.
I think the policies the government are making in the mid to long term are the right ones for the country. So we think that that's going to play out, especially as they're able to bring in more supply of foreign currency into the economy and meet the demand that we have on ground.
The World Ahead 2024 identifies several key themes for the year, including upcoming elections in various economic powerhouse nations, the ongoing Middle East tensions, advancements in artificial intelligence, and a shift in the global energy landscape. Now, by being aware of these trends, businesses and governments can be better equipped to navigate the year ahead. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
The challenges faced by micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria is a topic that business owners and stakeholders continue to discuss. In these discussions, how to scale their businesses in such challenging times is a key issue. News Central was at an entrepreneurial lecture series where scaling small businesses was the focal point of deliberations.
The negative impacts that the COVID pandemic had on businesses in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. Sadly, micro, small and medium-scale enterprises were mostly on the receiving end. Many of them did not survive. A few years later, Nigeria's economy is still facing challenges, and business owners are finding it difficult to sustain and scale their businesses. At the 6th AM Agoro Entrepreneurship Lecture, this issue was the subject of deliberations.
A lot of small businesses wish to scale, whether that's good for their business or not good for their business. And there are pros and cons for scaling. But we find that a lot more of them are trying to scale. They want to have one branch here and another branch here. And they've seen quite a number of them, organizations that have scaled. And so we thought it was a good idea to bring, experts and professionals in that area, and those that have also scaled, to talk about, the challenges and the benefits of scaling your business. And that's what has informed this year's topic.
3-4 years down the line. In a panel session discussion, notable business owners and stakeholders shared experiences on how the challenging business environment has affected them and gave some advice on how best to scale and make progress regardless.
As your business grows, you need to bring in people, you need to bring in experienced people, you need to bring in people that align with your values, your vision and your mission. And so being able to consistently grow your people and grow their capacity is a challenge that every business that is scaling needs to overcome.
Most times, right, businesses that already exist, you have a pool of businesses that have been serving, that have been making money, that are they are there. Why look for only startups? If you support those that exist to scale up, a person that's employing 10 can employ 100. Someone that employs 20 can employ 80. So helping those businesses that exist to scale is as important or even more important than just only helping startups.
In some states, including Lagos, The government has put certain mechanisms in place to help MSMEs weather the current economic storm, and they ask that business owners take full advantage so as to help better the businesses.
It's not only about money all the time. We have a second program called Business Support, and that is basically saying what skills the business owners need to set them up for success. How do we hold your hand to make sure that that business you're starting is actually successful? And we do this through various master classes. We link our business owners with mentors who are more successful in that space, and we do this across different sectors.
According to the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, MSMEs in Nigeria account for about 48.5% of the gross domestic product, GDP, as well as 7.27% of goods and services exported out of the country. For this vital segment to thrive, meet up and exceed expectations, more forums like this are needed to help chart the right course.
Let's talk sports now. Andre Villas-Boas, the former Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur coach, manager, has been elected as president of FC Porto, Portuguese club, in a landslide victory ending the 42-year reign of Jorge Nuno Pinto da Costa. Villas-Boas was sacked after less than a season in charge of Chelsea between 2011 and 2012, before lasting 18 months at Spurs following his appointment at the start of the 2012-2013 season. The 46-year-old, who has been out of management since leaving Marseille in 2021 after almost 2 years at the Stade Velodrome, guided Porto to a Cup and Europa League treble as coach in 2011, and he has now returned to the club after dislodging Pinto da Costa from presidency at Estadio de Dragão. Villas-Boas claimed 80.3% of the vote to win the presidency and marked his victory by saying Porto is free again. Seven-time world champion, that's world snooker champion, Ronnie O'Sullivan made a 12.3, a 123 and 84 in the opening 2 frames, although world number 18 Day took the next 2 frames. And that's the end of the news. Before we go, let's take another look at the major stories we brought you news that Nigeria's President Tinubu has mourned victims of a tanker fire incident in Rivers State. Motorists have fumed as fuel scarcity is worsening despite the NNPCL's assurances in Nigeria. We also brought you news that Chadian students are hopeful for change ahead of the country's presidential election. We'd like to hear from you. Please send us your eyewitness reports, your things using the WhatsApp number and email address on your screen. You can also follow us on social media on the major platforms. We're at News Central TV. Watch us live on any of these channels or platforms. Thanks for your time. My name is Kofi Bartels. Good evening.